Hey, it's Wes from Poker for Pound Pups, coming at you today with more 3, 5, 10 action from Lucky Chances. In today's episode, we get quads, we get pocket aces, and we have a mystery hand for you as well. So we'll see if you can figure it out. Hope you enjoy Poker for Pound Pups vlog number 8. Let's get into the hands. About an hour or so in, we get aces for the first time in 6, 7 sessions. Unfortunately, it's under the gun, but this table has been pretty darn aggressive so far. A hand or two prior, I saw somebody 3-bet with ace-8 offsuit. I decide to limp with plans of coming back over the top. Most limpers have been getting squeezed or punished, so I do just that. I stick in $10 and cross my fingers, and we get what we hope for when the hijack makes it $40 and the cutoff calls. It folds back to me, and I decide to bump it up to 135. Limp 3-bets are going to be ace king and maybe jacks are better, a pretty narrow range. Unfortunately, everyone at the table right now is either studied, very experienced, or both, and both opponents fold. Not an ideal result, but it's nice to take home a little something with aces from out of position. I think I kind of got screwed over there by being so card dead. It made me just look tight. So when I did show aggression, people didn't have any bluffs to refer back to. So that was a bummer. The very next hand, we are on the straddle. 4 people limp, and I look down at ace king. This is one of the best hands I'm going to have here. I make it 80 bucks, but this time I get action from the cutoff. So far, he's been an action player and is pretty sticky. I've seen him call with just backdoor straight equity and overcards. So when the flop comes queen, jack, 6 with 2 diamonds out of position, I don't think it's very likely that he's going to fold out on me here. So I think it's best to just check this one back. I do so, and he decides to take the betting lead by putting 85 bucks out there. I've seen him bluff. I have 2 overcards. I've got backdoor diamonds, but what I'd really like is a 10. I go ahead and make the call. The poker gods don't give me that straight, but they do bless me with the ace of hearts. I check, he checks back, knowing that this is going to be a good card for me a lot of the time. The river's a 3. I can get on board with either leading and trying to get value from all of his single pair hands here, or I can try and induce a bluff by checking back again. I decide to do the latter, protect my checking range, and unfortunately, my opponent checks back and curses when he sees me expose ace-king. He said he had a queen, he knew the turn was bad for him, so it looks like we miss out on some value there. Taking the passive route doesn't always work out great, but at least we've shown we won't always bet with top pair. This hand, we've got pocket sixes. Under the gun, +1 opens to $30, and I just call from the hijack, hoping nobody 3-bets and I can see a flop. The button calls as well, and we go 3 ways to a flop of ace 9 6. We've got bottom set. Please tell me this man has ace king or ace queen. He c-bets $40 in position with no flushes out there. I'm just going to go ahead and call, and the button folds. The turn brings in an 8. He checks, and I'm not worried about him having me beat here, so I just decide to check it back, hoping to induce an attempt on the river. Well, the river brings in the last 6. We make quads and have complete ownership of this pot. +1, unfortunately, checks again, so it seems like he's giving up. I want to make it look like I'm bluffing as best as I can, so I just stick my hand out and grab what seems like 60 or 70 bucks without really making it look like it's super calculated, hoping that he thinks I'm just trying to steal it. Unfortunately, he folds. I show my quad 6s and do make an extra 100 bucks from the high hand promotion. Kind of disappointing that we didn't get any action, but it is nice to chip up a little bit with quads. So for our most impactful hand of the day, it's time for another game of Guess the Hand. So think about what you would put me on if you were in my opponent's shoes. At the end of the hand, we'll give you multiple choice. We'll give you a second and see if you can figure out what it was that I had. So I'm sitting in the big blind, and my opponent from seat 5, who's in the hijack, opens to 30, and I 3-bet up to 120. He decides to stick in the call, and we go heads up to a flop of king, jack, 4, rainbow. I down bet to $50, and he calls. So the pot's up to about 240 or so now. The turn brings in a 9, and this time I size up to 150. He calls again, and the river pairs the board with another 4. This time I go big. I size up to $300. He doesn't take too long, and he sticks in the call. So the question is, what do you put me on? Is it A, pocket aces, B, ace king suited, C, pocket jacks, D, pocket tens, or E, queen 10 of hearts? Think about it. And the way that the hand went, I 3-bet to 120. Flop came out king jack 4. I down bet to 50. He called. Turn was a 9. I sized up to 150. He called. And the river paired the board with a 4, and I sized up to 300. So is it aces, ace king off, jacks, tens, or queen 10? Well, the answer might surprise you. Unfortunately, it was pocket tens. I played this hand like shit. My opponent turns over king jack. So he just happened to flop top 2 pair. Horrible time for my bluff. I thought I was in pretty good shape because it was a board that really favored me. He calls way too wide, has a lot of air in his range, and I thought that firing every barrel that I had would be able to take it down. This time I ran into it. Now, pairing the board on the river means that my aces are ahead and winning. But unfortunately, he wasn't too worried about it with top 2. It sucks too, because when I have stuff, I'm not getting action. And then when I don't have stuff or I have second best hand, then I'm just running into it. King jack offsuit. Son of a bitch. First to act pre-flop in the +1, and we look down at pocket tens. I bump it up to 35 and get action from 2 players. Flop comes out king, queen 10. There are going to be a lot of pairs, a lot of straight draws out there. Normally I'd go tiny out of position multi-way, but A, with a really strong hand, and B, with such a wet board texture, I think I need to go a little bit bigger. So I go half pot. I make it 45 or 50 to go, and both players fold really quickly. I am going to have a lot of netted hands on this board, so it makes sense that they would just flee for their lives. Kind of stinks to get no action when you flop a set, but at the same time, it's better to take that small win than to get beaten by a straight. It is what it is. Let's move on to the next hand. 2 people limp, and I look down at ace king offsuit from the button. I raise it up to $50, and the opponent sitting in seat 1 3-bets to 165. He's in the small blind. He's been on the aggressive side today. He's a younger kid. I think he's doing this with any suited ace, ace king, ace queen, ace jack, maybe even ace 10. But of course, he's also doing this with big pocket pairs, probably pocket 8s or 9s and better. I think the right play is to fire right back over the top because he's been on the aggressive side. Then again, if an ace or a king come out, I know he's just going to keep blasting off and we'll probably have him dominated. So since I'm in position, I make the call. We go heads up to a flop of 9 deuce deuce. He c-bets $130. So I'm losing to all of his pairs. Maybe I'm chopping with another ace king. I do have his weaker aces beat. I go back and forth, but ultimately I decide to fold. I think it's one thing to let this go against a passive player, but to not fire back at an aggressive kid is just way too nitty. I asked him later on and he told me he also had ace king. So we are not playing well today. Chalk this one up as a loss. Let's see if we can turn things around with queen jack suited. Seat number 5, who's been pretty wide pre-flop, opens to 30. The small blind sticks in a call, and sitting in the big blind, I make the call as well. Seat 5 has played a lot of hands. He's been pretty sticky. He's hit some big hands, and he's also gotten stacked on an all-in bluff. The small blind has been passive calling station, who's been pretty card dead today. The flop comes out with a king and a 10 and 2 spades, so I've got open-ended plus the flush draw. The initial raiser will likely c-bet this board, and the flop is about as good as I can ask for. It's essentially a flip, even if he has pocket aces or ace king, and that's assuming he's at the top of his range. So with him playing way too widely, I think I'm going to be ahead here, at least percentage-wise. So I check with plans of raising his c-bet. Sure enough, he continues for 45. The small blind gets out of the way, and I bump it up to 135. Takes him 2 or 3 seconds, and his cards are in the muck, so I guess this was one of those times where he just had air. Would have been nice to hit either the straight or the flush, but I am not complaining to take this down with aggression. Today's been 2 steps forward, 3 or 4 steps back, but let's try to keep the momentum going with ace-6 suited. The low jack raises to 30, I call on the button, and it gets 3-bet by seat 3 to $90. Earlier today, I saw him 3-bet with ace-8 offsuit, so he's got a pretty wide range. The initial raiser folds, and in position with the suited ace, I decide I want to get a little bit sticky. I make the call. As a side note, these mediocre suited aces are the hands I feel least confident playing. I really need to put some work in to clean up how I play this part of my game. Anyway, we go heads up in position to a flop of 10-9-8 with 1 diamond. It's good for my range. It's not good for his 3-betting range. I've got all the 8s, 9s, and 10s. I've got some 2-pair hands here. He might have 10s, but for the most part, his pocket pairs that are going to 3-bet are going to be royal cards. And then he's going to have a lot of strong ace-king, ace-queen, ace-jack, ace-10, and then some suited aces. So the board's good for me, and I have a gutter and a backdoor flush draw. The opponent c-bets for 130. Considering the board doesn't hit him all that well, I put him either on an overpair or an ace that's bluffing. So I go ahead and call with plans of pouncing if he decides to slow down on the turn. The turn comes an ace, and now he checks. I've seen some trickery from him, so this is kind of an odd line considering it should be good for his range. He's screaming that he's got something like jacks, queens, kings, something in that range that really doesn't like the ace that just came out. If that's the case, I'm way ahead here, so I decide to check it back. And I immediately regret it when the river is a queen. He proceeds to bet half his stack, $300. I'm now losing to jacks, queens, pocket aces, pocket 10s, ace king, ace jack. The only hand that I really beat that makes sense is pocket kings. I also don't think I have fold equity, as he's getting great pot odds if I decide to shove for his last $300. Again, the only hand that I'm beating in his 3-bet range is king-king, so if he's turning that into a bluff, then good for him. I take my time, but eventually I fold. I say, show a bluff, and he flashes pocket 10s. Wow, I thought the queen was a bad card, but actually it saved us some money. We dodged a bullet as he just went ahead and flopped top set, and I thought I was in good shape on the turn. If that river had been a blank and he bet the same amount, I probably snap call. I just decided to book the loss. A very disappointing session. It is what it is, but I don't want to make things worse. Tuck my tail and head home. Horrible session. I played about as bad as I can play. I did run into it. When I got good hands, I got no action. So some of it was just circumstantial and some of it was just bad play by yours truly. Pretty disappointing. I took a few extra days off after this session, licked my wounds. It wasn't a lot of fun. Wasn't proud of myself. And that's poker sometimes. Don't want to pretend like I'm just coming at you with win after win after win. Like I said in the first vlog, I'm still trying to get better. I have a long ways to go, and I think this session was evidence of that. Remember, please like and subscribe. It goes a long way to help out the puppies. That's the whole purpose of this channel. Get better and help out dogs. Your subscriptions, your likes, your comments, and even sharing the video really help a lot. Yes, signing off. We'll see you next time. Hey everybody, subscribe here to catch the latest episodes. Also, hit that like button and share these videos with anyone who might enjoy them. Doing that really helps the channel and its goal to support dog shelters, so thanks for watching Poker for Pound Pups, and have a great day.